Alright everyone, welcome to a brand new Two Stupid Gamers video. I'm Nanners.
I'm Zero.
And we wanted to do a video on a topic that's very near and dear to us. Recently, meaning about a month ago, Sega had its 60th anniversary. And yeah, while perusing IGN, we couldn't help but notice that they had a list of the top 10 Sega games of all time. And we thought, you know what, that's actually a very valuable video because we would be able to talk about some of the greatest Sega games of all time. So that's what we want to do right here.
So without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Well, when we're approaching this video, we wanted to be a little bit more creative about this. Instead of just going a straight top 10 list, top 5, top 20, what have you. We were going to do it a little bit different than IGN did.
That's right. So Nanas and I decided that the best way to do this list was to do 15 games and divide them between the modern Sega games and the classic older Sega games.
That's right. So it's actually kind of cool because the division between what counts as a modern Sega game or a classic Sega game is actually pretty easy to follow. Realistically, it's just if it was originally released on a Sega console, we're gonna put it under classic, and if it was not, then modern. So any kind of like Xbox 360, PS3, PC, Steam, Nintendo, that would be considered a modern Sega game. And this is going to be both games that were published by Sega, like developed in-house, and then also just well yeah, published by Sega only.
That's right. So why don't we get started with the modern Sega games? Nanners, take it away.
Yes, so when it comes to the modern Sega games, we're gonna have a special shout out first, because of course we love to do shout outs on our lists. So special shout out goes to none other than Persona 5, and the reason why is that I honestly felt like, yes, this is a great game, it's an amazing game, but it was a previously established IP. This is something that Sega has not always been involved with since day one. It was originally just Atlas and, you know, whoever was publishing them, but yeah, they picked this up for the 5th one. I felt like it doesn't really count. Great game regardless. It was published by Sega. Wanted to just kind of throw that out there. We will not be putting it on the list. So next we have number 5. The very first one on the list is Binary Domain, which was on the PS3 and the 360. I believe maybe PC as well. Binary Domain was a game that a lot of people didn't really know much about. It probably fell under the radar, unfortunately. It is a third-person shooter where the story is affected by the different choices that you make, and it's a very unique story, pretty similar to like your Ghost in the Shell, Cyberpunk. There's a lot of delving into AI and androids and whatnot. The gameplay also happens to be very fun with the weapon upgrades and the way that the actual bodies of the robots that you're fighting degrade over time. It was a great game. It was really fun, and it may even give you like a little emotional gut punch. Totally underrated. Recommend it. Number 5. So how could we talk about modern Sega games but not bring up the Yakuza series? And we're going to be going with, for number 4, Yakuza Kiwami. Out of all of them, it felt like this would be the best one to go with because you could totally pick this game up. Start off the series with it. It is, of course, the beginning of the story. Well, before, without counting 0. And as a PS4 remaster, it feels really good. They did a good job with it, enough that it just feels like a PS4 game, even though it was originally on the PS2.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't really too familiar with the Yakuza games myself. So when Nanners over here brought up Yakuza Kiwami and then we played a little bit of it, I could have sworn it was a brand new game. Like, he had to tell me it was a PS2 game. That's how good it looked.
Yep.
And the fact that you have a Japanese style GTA / brawler 3D game is freaking fantastic. The game plays so well and it's just so extremely fun.
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely feels like if you mixed a beat 'em up with a like sort of sandbox GTA style game and then set it in Japan, and it really feels to me like this is what is modern day Streets of Rage, even, because that's also a Sega property. This is what it would look like if it was made today on today's consoles. But so yeah, number 4, Yakuza Kiwami. Number 3 on our list of the top modern Sega games goes to Virtua Fighter 5 and Final Showdown. This was a amazing fighting game franchise. Even though the fighting game community never properly appreciated this series, it probably is one of the best games, one of the best fighting games, like mechanically, the way it works. It's easy to pick up because it's only got 3 buttons, but it's insanely difficult to master. The highest level of tournaments is just the game makes it look like you're watching an actual fight. Honestly, Virtua Fighter was always amazing, and Sega made it almost felt like accidentally they made an amazing sequel, which was also a launch title on the PS3.
That's right. I myself, once again, I wasn't really too familiar with the Virtua Fighter games. I was only really familiar with 2 when you found it in the arcades. When the PS3 launched, I downloaded the demo of Virtua Fighter 5 and thought to myself, wow, this game looks beautiful. And it worked. It actually handled very smoothly as well. Sega really did outdo themselves when they created this game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the PS3 version did not have online. The 360 version did. But with the updated Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, we had access to online. All the upgrades that they did in the arcade version, like cumulatively they made for Final Showdown. It was nice. It was my favorite probably fighting game on that generation of consoles, and gotta put it on this list. For number 2 on our list of best modern Sega games, that's gonna go to Sonic Mania for the PlayStation 4, all the modern consoles and platforms. And yeah, I mean, what a better game to put on this list. It is fantastic. After so many years of disappointing Sonic game sequels, of disappointing just the fans constantly, they finally got it right. And on top of that, it was like a perfect sequel to the original Sonic franchise games, from 1 all the way up to 3. It just fits in so well with those games, on top of improving a whole bunch of stuff.
That's right. And here's the kicker too. It wasn't even developed in-house by Sega. It was the Sega fans. Christian Whitehead, along with Headcanon, worked together to create this masterpiece of a game. Not only do the graphics look even better than what they did back in the day, they added a few new tricks to it. They added new levels. They even added an awesome 3D bonus stage, which I'm still in love with. And let's also not forget Sonic Mania Plus, the extra add-in DLC.
Yes, absolutely. We got 2 additional characters as well. What I love best about this game is that it plays so well. It plays well enough that I think a lot of gamers don't even want to go back to the classic Sonic games. And there is so much replay value in this because of just collecting all the gems. There's tons of cool bonuses and different modes that you can unlock for the way that you can play Sonic. So you can actually alter Sonic to make him play like Sonic in Sonic CD or in Knuckles or 3. It's really cool, and it really feels like they finally did a great job with the Sonic game. So we gotta acknowledge that and put it as number 2 on our list. And finally, we have number 1 for the top 5 modern Sega games, and that is going to go to Valkyria Chronicles. This is my favorite JRPG series. It quickly became my favorite JRPG series. It's actually an SRPG, which is strategy RPG, but that really just means it's turn-based, similar to like your XCOM or even like Wasteland or something like that, except that here they added the ability to actually go into third person. So when you actually execute your move, you are in real time doing the move instead of just the strategy aspect of it. And I thought that was so cool. This series is a breath of fresh air. It was so unlike anything that came out around that time, really. And even since then, we don't have too much like this. We do have Fire Emblem now. Advanced Wars also has like a similar vibe to, although that series is unfortunately dead. But we don't really get a lot of games like this, and that's a shame. The art is fantastic, the music is fantastic, the story will keep you guessing with like constant plot twists. This is an incredibly unique game that was lovingly crafted and quickly became one of my favorite video game series of all time, and that's why gotta give it number 1.
Alrighty, so we are done with the top 5 modern Sega games. Now we're gonna go into the top 10 classic Sega games. But before we do that, we have a special shout out. So go ahead, take it away, Nanners.
That's right, yeah. So special shout out goes to Soccer Awards, the series. A very cool series that was mostly on the Sega Saturn. Unfortunately, a lot of those games, the good majority of those games, were not released in the West, so we did not get them over here, and yeah, they weren't translated. We can't really play them on anything that we have. There was like 1 or 2 of them, the recent one that came out in 2019, and then also Sakura Wars, that was a game that was on the PS2, but the original like 3-4 games that they had never came out here, so I would like to critique them, but we can't really do that if we can't play them, so gonna not be on this list.
Okay, and we have one other shout out, and that's gonna go to Rystar. Now, Rystar is a relatively unknown platformer created by the same team that created Sonic. You're playing as a sort of shooting star personified character, and his ability is to be able to stretch his arms out and throw himself onto enemies and kind of take them out that way, while also swinging around poles and vines and stuff like that. Very interesting game, pretty slow paced. However, it's not very well known. I myself haven't played too much of it, but I think it deserves at least a shout out in this special list.
Absolutely. No, those are great games. Those are good games. So for number 10, we put the Bonanza Bros. And Bonanza Bros also is something that I think a lot of people that even had Genesis probably missed out on. But they were really cool games. It was a really cool game. I think there was just one. And you basically do multiplayer like co-op, where it's a heist. 2 little polygonal bald characters with sunglasses are just trying to collect a bunch of items in a building and not get, captured, taken out by security. It's pretty fun. It was really neat, decent like feel to it. Definitely stood out in the Genesis library. I don't think that there was really anything else like it. Very cool game, great replay value. I would like to feature that on the channel one day, which we could totally do.
Especially because it has 2 players, doesn't it?
Yep. Next we have number 9, which will be Columns 3 for the Sega Genesis. Now, the reason we go with Columns 3, it is a fantastic sequel to Columns 2. In the original Columns, you really just had the puzzle matching. It was very straightforward, still had a lot of charm to it. It was a very nice, charming game. But with the additions that they put in for 3, you get a lot better of an experience. You have all of these different attacks that you could do versus your whoever you're playing against, whether it be AI or a player, and it's just fun. It's more competitive. It's decent. There's even a couple of modes in it too, besides just the puzzling. So Columns 3, great game. Definitely deserves a slot on a list like this. Number 8 will be for Bug. Once again, it's a series, but we'll just go with the first Bug. Really cool game. It's pretty much like Sega Saturn's Crash Bandicoot, because you have this little bug character and he's running in a 3D plane. Although it will work once if you play it, you will see the immediate difference between it and Crash, but it does kind of feel like it's a similar game in that sense. And yeah, fun game. I remember it very fondly growing up, playing it on a Saturn back in the day. It's a very good game for kids too. That's probably why it's super nostalgic and very favorable with a lot of people, because it has a lot of like kid humor. It's fun, it's goofy, and it also provides a bit of challenge too, just like with Crash. As for number 7, we are going to do the whole Streets of Rage series. That's right, we're gonna put 3 games in one because it's really difficult to pick one with Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage is just such an amazing game series, actually, just like you said. Amazing characters, amazing story, and let's also not forget, this was Sega's response to Nintendo actually getting Final Fight on the Super Nintendo. But let's also remember, Sega did it better because they were able to provide 2-player gameplay with Streets of Rage, where Super Nintendo couldn't with Final Fight.
Yeah, and they created a hell of a game because fantastic series, great music, great personality, and art aesthetics. So much so that we recently got Streets of Rage 4. After many, many years of fan demand, that happened, and that's also a really good game too.
That's right. Great games, great music, great story, great characters, great franchise. Sega, you outdid yourselves.
Real quick though, what would you say, like, if you were randomly going to be playing a Streets of Rage game, which one do you think you'd pick off the top of your head?
The one I played the most, especially as a kid, was Streets of Rage 2. And I would always play as Skate because I found it so entertaining to play as a character with rollerblades. I was always on wheels as a kid, so I found that to be freaking exciting.
Yeah, I also gravitated towards 2, I think. I mean, 3 is great, but I think... Again, it's so hard to pick one out of the whole series, but I usually would play Streets of Rage 2.
Let's also not forget, I had quite a bit of fun with 3 as well. I mean, you can play as a freaking kangaroo in that game.
Yeah.
Fuck yes! Like you said, it's hard to choose. But the one I remember most fondly is just 2 because I played that the most as a kid, but I'll easily play 3 or 1.
Okay, number 6 on our list is going to go to Jet Set Radio.
That's right. Jet Set frickin' Radio, one of those once-in-a-lifetime creations by Sega. You get to skate around as multiple different characters, very colorful aesthetics, very different attitudes as well. You get to create your own graffiti, by the way, which me as an artist, I freaking enjoyed. The music is legendary. Once again, if Sega can do one thing, is create fantastic earworm music that you just can't get out of your head.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, also, the gameplay is freaking fluid. I don't know what is with Sega, but somehow they were always able to get some very exciting fluid gameplay. Grinding on rails, jumping over big holes and stuff like that, doing tricks, while also graffitiing your own graffiti on the walls. Hell yes, this is a game you need to play.
Yeah, and I completely missed it as a kid because I didn't have a Dreamcast. I didn't really even know anyone that had a Dreamcast that I could go over to their house and play these games. But then when you and Bulb were talking about it for doing it on the channel, and we played through the whole thing, it was like, wow, I really wish I had played this game before because it really was good.
I'm in the same boat as you. I did not have a Dreamcast. I only knew one person as a kid who had a Dreamcast, and she only had Sonic Adventure for it. I didn't get to play Jet Set Radio until I was already an adult, but I'm so glad that they ported it to the PS3 and newer consoles, because if they hadn't, I would have definitely missed out on this incredible gem of a game. Everyone needs to play this game at least once to know what we're talking about.
So number 5 is when we're really going to start to get into some of these personal ones. But the 5th game on our list of top 10 classic Sega games goes to Virtua Fighter 2. This is a game that I played so much as a kid, and it was always the go-to. There are a couple Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis games that were go-tos for us, but we played this a lot. Obviously multiplayer, so we had 2 controllers. It was a crap ton of fun. And yeah, it's a very special game. I'm going to give it to the Sega Saturn version because there's also a Sega Genesis version. Unfortunately, the Sega Genesis version is not quite as good. The Sega Genesis version of Virtua Fighter 2 is, instead of having that nice 3D fighting style, those nice 3D animated characters, although be it, very polygonal, those cool environments that were also in 3D, it was all 2D for the most part, with like a faux 3D background, and you couldn't control which way you were going in terms of like the 3D perspective. It wasn't as fun. The music was watered down compared to its Saturn II and arcade versions, and overall it was the inferior version. A lot of people don't really like to play this. It's not as fun. Actually, there's so much of a difference between these two games that when I used to play them at my friend's house, who had both the Genesis and the Saturn, I would not be surprised if I thought that this version was actually a sequel, because you had the 3D polygons and it looked so much better and it played so much better and sounded better. Also, it was on the new console. But yeah, Virtua Fighter 2, one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Great music, great characters. I can't say enough about this franchise.
You and me both, especially when you first got me into Virtua Fighter 2 on the Saturn when we played it. I gotta say, I was super impressed. The Sega Saturn is not really much of a 3D console, was mainly developed for 2D games, but to see a console like the Sega Saturn push these kind of polygons and textures and fluid gameplay, it impressed the hell out of me, and I understand why people love it so much.
That's right. The Saturn version was very good, but let's not forget the best version of Virtua Fighter 2 was actually the arcade version of it, not the Saturn version. Saturn version was more of like a port, but I mean, you really want to play, if you really want to play this game the best, you have to go to the arcades. You have to have a stick and a cabinet in front of you. It's just so much more fun that way. You are going to get your ass kicked though, for sure, by that computer player, but definitely get it. If it's got to be on the Saturn, it's got to be on the arcade. Virtua Fighter 2 gets number 5 on our list. All right, so number 4 on our list is going to go to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And the reason it's going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and why you will not see Sonic 1 on the list is that it is such a great sequel for that first game. Unfortunately, a lot of people really feel like they can't go back to Sonic 1. Like, it feels clunky, it feels archaic, it's not as fast-paced or fun or loaded with features like Sonic 2 is. So, yes, people will default to playing at the very least Sonic. If you're not going to play 3, you're going to at least play 2. And with Sonic 2, they added a ton of great music. You have Tails is now a character as well. One of my favorite features about Sonic 2 is the fact that it has an amazing final boss fight. The game all the way through is going to be a challenge for you, but then that final boss fight is no pushover. Whereas with the first game, the final boss fight was incredibly easy. I don't remember having too many difficulties with it, and it doesn't really put up much of a challenge for you. So I kind of felt like for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, they really thought about it and said, well, okay, if we're going to make this game and we're going to really make it a great game, we're going to have to give it a very good boss fight that's going to challenge players.
That's right. I remember this the boss fights from Sonic 1 and thinking to myself, this is it? This is really it? Oh, well. One other thing that I really loved about Sonic 2, you mentioned it earlier, the new mechanics. Being able to actually spin dash instead of having to run and then hit down for some reason in Sonic 1 was a major step up. Sonic 2 also allowed you to play with 2 people, one of the first platformers to my recollection to allow 2-player gameplay. So Nanners can be playing as Sonic, I could be playing as Tails, and we can cooperate to try to beat the levels and maybe even find a few secrets within those levels as well. Or why not just play as Tails the whole way through? That's another option you have as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no matter what way you look at it, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a very good package. And now for number 3. Number 3 on our list is going to go to Daytona, USA.
Daytona!
That's right. Fantastic game. It is all the best of great classic Sega racing mechanics in a game, but it also has this over-the-top humorous tone to it. It's joking. It's just fun to look at. It's a great game. It's a real piece of history, especially when you think about like the arcade machine for it too as well. Which allowed you to go into VR mode, even though it really wasn't virtual reality. As Zero was doing just now, the music in this game is absolutely classic. It is tattooed in my brain. You will never get this music out of my head. It's so good and amazing.
For me, my taste, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's definitely an earworm. And once again, going back to Sega and their arcade classics, they were able to crunch those amazing games down into a Sega Saturn. And once again, Nana showed me this game on the Saturn, and I thought to myself, holy crap, this is an arcade game on a console, and it looks great. Nice drifty controls as well. You can go between playing automatic or using the stick, which I thought was fantastic. And yeah, and let's also not forget the karaoke mode that's available in Daytona USA Saturn.
That's right. Yep, the karaoke mode lets you just play through the songs while the credits are rolling. No, it's a lot of fun. And, you know, I felt like it actually is a little bit of a disservice to not put another racing game, Sega racing game, on a list of favorite Sega games. But if I had to pick one racing game, it's got to be Daytona USA. It has that humorous tone, it has that connection to NASCAR, which appeals to me as well. And I say, as much as I love Outruns, as much as I love Sega Rally, I will play Daytona USA over those games any day. It's just such a fun, amazing, nostalgic game for me. So number 2 on our list of the top 10 classic Sega games is actually a game that I found recently. I did not grow up with this game, even though I wish I did. I wasn't even familiar with the franchise until maybe like a couple of years ago, but it's very important, and since then it has become such a great game that I love to play on a regular basis. Even I still play it regularly, but that is going to be none other than Castlevania Bloodlines. It is probably one of the forgotten gems. I would say maybe like the second most forgotten gem of the Castlevania series. This is another Castlevania in the classic platform style, so not like Symphony of the Night, but more so like the original games were. And it is very similar to Super Castlevania 4. Came out around the same time. It was on the competing, console. So Super Castlevania 4 was for the Super Nintendo, and then Castlevania Bloodlines was on the Sega Genesis. Now, a lot of people will say that 4 is better, but in my opinion, I think Castlevania Bloodlines provides the better Castlevania experience. It is more challenging, it's more fun to play as. They did a better job with the weapons in the game. With how the characters control, believe it or not. I would say Castlevania Bloodlines is a super rewarding game to play, and it quickly became my favorite, not only my favorite Castlevania game, but also my favorite platforming game. There's tons of replay value in this. You get to play as John Morris or Eric Lecard, two characters that play very differently, and also depending on who you pick, you are going to have a split at some point for a couple of the levels where you will need to go a different route. That's something that we really didn't see too much outside of like Castlevania 3. Castlevania 4, you don't get that at all. And yeah, I mean, it's just a fun game. I've even been looking into speedrunning. To me, I think Castlevania Bloodlines hands down way more memorable than Super Castlevania. And yeah, I wish I had this growing up. This is such a good game. Alright guys, you ready for this? This is going to be our favorite classic Sega game. This is number 1, and it goes to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Classic game. Once again, it's one of those games where I will gravitate towards this. If you talk about playing the old Sonic games, I'm definitely going to be jumping for Sonic 3 versus the other ones. Great sequel. They added so much to the previous games that made it run smoother, play better. You could even see that the game designers are even flexing a little bit with how the levels transition between the different acts when you're playing it, which was not really possible on at the time for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and definitely not for Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So it was just a great beefed up classic game. Fantastic all around.
When they say third time's the charm, they meant it. Like you were saying, Sega was flexing their freaking biceps on Nintendo when they created Sonic 3. This game was so big, let's not forget that they had to divide it in two, because not only did we get Sonic 3, we also got Sonic and Knuckles right after that, which was a special attachment that you can actually put on to Sonic 3 and then actually play through Sonic 3 with Knuckles. That's on top of all the extra stuff you already get with Sonic 3. All those special little mini-game levels you can play with multiple people. And then let's also not forget all the amazing music. Once again, Sega knocks it out of the park with the music, and for good reason too, because they actually worked with Michael Jackson to create some of the tunes that you hear in this game.
Yeah, and it's actually very interesting that you bring up a Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles had a fascinating cartridge if you ever get a chance to look at it. So normally a Sega Genesis cartridge would look something similar to this, and it's about 3, maybe 3.5 inches high. Sonic and Knuckles was about half this, and then you would take the Genesis version of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, put it on top of Sonic and Knuckles, and then put that into your Genesis. It was very fascinating, and yeah, it's like the real way to play through this game is to play through all of Sonic 3 and then also play all of Sonic and Knuckles, because like Zero said, it really felt like that was half of the game. So if we're gonna put this game on the list, I think we have to put it as Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Let's also not forget there's one more feature that we did not mention. You can take Sonic and Knuckles and also put it with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and get to play through Sonic 2 as Knuckles.
That's right.
Another special little feature that you get when you buy Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3.
See, I never got to do that because when I was a kid, my friends who owned the Genesis, that's how I played Genesis, that's how I played Sega Saturn, they never got Sonic and Knuckles, so I only ever got to play 3. I had no idea that there was a whole other game that was basically the second half of this, and if I had known that, that would have been insane to me as a kid. Like, what? There's even more to it? I don't think I would have been able to beat it and get through the whole thing. I certainly never was able to do that with any of these games as a kid, but it would have been cool to know that there was that much more content that they had planned for this.
Agreed. Again, I also never had a Genesis. I only played it at family members' houses. I would play Sonic 2. I'd try Sonic 1 and not want to keep playing that. I'd get to Sonic 3 and say, holy crap, what a great game. And it wasn't until high school, late high school, that I realized there's more. What the heck? What is that? What's that cartridge? You can connect it? What? Blew my mind.
Yeah, when I played Sonic Mania, it honestly felt like Sonic 3 all over again. They just did such a good job of improving it. So let's not forget, at the end of the Genesis era, we did not get another Sonic game, at least not a proper sequel. We wouldn't get a proper Sonic sequel until Sonic the Hedgehog 4 many, many years later. But when you think about it, because 3 and Knuckles were so leaps and bounds ahead of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it honestly was a great place to leave off at. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles are, to me, the most memorable Genesis game. If you show me a picture of a Sega Genesis, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And that is why Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles get the #1 spot on our top 10 classic Sega games of all time. And that does it for our favorite Sega games of all time, both modern and classic. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments below, what did you think? Did you agree with some of our picks? What are some of your favorite Sega games?
Did you hate our picks? Give us a few rants down in the comments section below. We'll give it a like anyway. We appreciate you.
Yep. And yeah, as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back for another Two Stupid Gamers video, hopefully soon.
That's right. Catch you next time, everyone.
Bye.